Welcome back to another episode of Cardinal Compass. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit more enjoyable, just a bonus video for you from the weekend. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list of every team in Major League Baseball, ranking teams based off of where I think they're going to finish entering the regular season. I know when this video comes out, the regular season's already started, but let's just get it going. We're going to start off in the American League East. We're going to start off with a team that made the playoffs last year, the New York Yankees. The Yankees opened the season off on Wednesday against the Giants. Max Fried looked terrific, and so did the Yankees, winning 7-0 over the Giants. This game had nothing to do with what I think the Yankees are going to be this year, and I think they are going to be a playoff contender. I don't think they're going to be a World Series contender because we still don't know what it's going to look like with Garrett Cole coming back off of Tommy John. Carlos Rodon will eventually be back. I do like a lot of the pieces they have. They kind of ran it back with the same core they had last year. Obviously, you have, back-to-back AL MVP Aaron Judge on the team. Even though he didn't look great against San Francisco, I'm sure that's not going to affect his season stats whatsoever. Up next is the Tampa Bay Rays. They looked good, even though in a loss against the St. Louis Cardinals on opening day, losing by a 9-7 score. The Rays are always kind of a tricky team to rank. They're always kind of in the sneaky good kind of category, but I think this year they're just going to fall in the average category for me. And I think this is going to be the worst team in the AL East, just being average. I think the Rays last year were somewhere around 500. I think they're going to be just like that again this year. They're getting Shane McClanahan back for a full season. Hopefully he can be healthy enough for a full season, but we're still not going to know how good he's going to be. The Rays are always sneaky good with their pitching. Drew Rasmussen, looked good on opening day against the Cardinals. And they have solid pieces in their lineup, but I think out of everybody in their division, I think they're the least likely to do any better. And I think they're going to stay around average for the entire season. The defending American League champions, Toronto Blue Jays, I think this team still easily are World Series contenders. I think they easily are one of the better teams in the American League. You got to Game 7 of the World Series last year against the juggernaut Los Angeles Dodgers. You were inches away from winning that game. And what did you do this offseason? While, yes, you lost Bo Bichette, I think you only got better. You replaced his power and hitting in the lineup with Kazuma Okamoto. I think he's going to fit great in that Toronto lineup. Toronto opens their season tonight, the day I'm recording this. The day I'm recording this is Friday the 27th. I think he will be a phenomenal pickup for the Blue Jays. Dylan Cease, another great pickup. Their rotation is stacked. Kevin Gausman, obviously, he's been solid for so many years in Toronto. You have Dylan Cease. You still have Trey Savage, even though he's starting the year on the IL. Trey Savage now going into his full rookie season. I think as of now, entering the season, this is the best team in the American League East. They won the American League last year for a reason. They still have the pieces to do it. I think entering this year, they're going for it. They are World Series contenders. I think slightly right behind them, and I'm going to put this team in front of the Yankees. I got the Boston Red Sox. I think the Red Sox are more than sneaky good this year. I think the Red Sox have a chance to make a deep, deep playoff run. When you look at the acquisitions they made in the offseason, they arguably have the best starting five in Major League Baseball. Garrett Crochet is a true Cy Young candidate, an ace on any team. You then have Sonny Gray, Ranger Suarez, Brian Bayo. You got guys like Johan Oviedo. You got Garrett Whitlock that could be put in the rotation. And you have a bullpen that, while is kind of sketchy, you're still relying on Aroldis Chapman. But I think Aroldis Chapman, he's still throwing 101 miles an hour at 38 years old. I think he's going to be just fine, if you want me to be completely honest. And their lineup, they have depth at every position. Wilson Contreras, one of their biggest acquisitions in the offseason. He's now playing first base for them with Tristan Casas out. They did lose Alex Bregman, so they had to refill their lineup a bit. But, listen to their infielders. They got Caleb Durbin from the Brewers this offseason. They got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Trevor Story's still there. And their outfield, is great. Yoshida, if he can pick things up, he's great. Wilyer Abreu is a fantastic piece. He had a great World Baseball Classic for Team Venezuela. Roman Anthony and Jaron Duran, obviously, also very solid pieces. I think the Red Sox are the best team to contend with the Blue Jays right now. I think they're the second best team in the American League East. I think they're probably easily a playoff team, easily playoff contenders. I think I'm going to throw the Orioles in the sneaky good category. There's still a lot of question marks I have with the Orioles. But this roster, top to bottom, is a great roster. We saw Trevor Rogers. He was awesome last year for the Orioles, and he opened up with a beautiful opening day start against the Minnesota Twins in Baltimore, going 7 innings in that outing. The lineup for the Orioles is still loaded. You still have MVP candidates like Gunnar Henderson. You still have one of the best catchers in baseball in Adley Rutschman. You added Pete Alonso to that ballpark, a ballpark that doesn't particularly favor right-handed bats. But with Pete Alonso's power, I really don't think it's going to matter that much. And Tyler O'Neill, obviously still a valuable piece. Yes, you lose Cedric Mullins, but I think this team is fine. I think his team is really fine overall. And maybe this is the year where Jackson Holliday finally has his breakout season. So I got the Orioles in the sneaky good tier. I think they could end up being playoff contenders as the season goes along if things do fall in the right piece. But entering the season, I'm putting them in sneaky good. Now moving on to the AL Central, and I'm going to start with the Kansas City Royals. The Kansas City Royals are a tough team to rank. Personally, for me, I feel the Royals' ceiling is a playoff contender, but I think right now I'm going to put them at sneaky good. I think they're easily a sneaky good team. I don't know if I'm going to rank them better than the Orioles right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Royals make a run for the playoffs at some point this season. When you have guys like Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, and Jack Caglione on the team, that lineup is stacked with power from both sides of the plate, and defensively, they're a really good team as well, not to mention Maikel Garcia at third base. Then their pitching. Cole Reagans will not have a year like he did last year. I'm going to put money on it. He will not have a year he had last year. I think this pitching staff is the really one concern. I think they're going to rely a lot on Cole Reagans this year. If he performs well, I think the Royals can make the playoffs. If he doesn't perform well, we'll see what happens. They might be a fringe contending team, maybe slightly above 500. So right now I'm going to put them at sneaky good, but they have the pieces. They really have the pieces to do so. Next up are the Detroit Tigers, and I don't think a lot of people are giving the Tigers enough respect. I'm not just putting them in playoff contenders, yo. I'm considering the Tigers as a World Series contender for 2026. The Tigers front office made some questionable moves, not with their signings, but with their decision to lowball Tarek Skubal in arbitration hearings, and Tarek Skubal won a record $30 million in arbitration this year in what will probably be his last year in Detroit. If the Tigers want to win, they have to win now, and I think they realized that with some of the moves they made in the offseason with signing Framber Valdez to be their 1-2 punch behind the two-time back-to-back Cy Young Award winner in Tarek Skubal. Not to mention also the lineup, still great. Kerry Carpenter is a dog. Riley Green has been a dog forever, and people are finally starting to catch up on how good Riley Green is. Zach McKinstry, a great utility player. Gleyber Torres as well, awesome player. Javi Baez even had a resurgence last year. If he can play like he did last year, I understand the Tigers threw away the division last year with such a big lead to the Guardians, but I think the Tigers are not going to let that happen. They know that if they want to win with Skubal, they have to win now. I think regardless of what they could be, unless they are beyond bad at the trade deadline, I think they're going to be buying even if they're 500, because I think 87 wins can win this division. I don't think it will take much, and I think the Tigers clearly on paper are the best team in this division. I think they are a World Series contender. That team is also built for the postseason, especially when you get into a 5 and 7 game series and you can get Skubal getting 2 starts in a series plus a bullpen appearance. It's over. Speaking of the Cleveland Guardians, I have them in just about average. I think they're just about an average team. I think Stephen Vogt worked his devil magic, if he even has any devil magic, to sneak them into the playoffs last year, barely beating the division over the Detroit Tigers. But I don't think it's going to happen again this year. I think it would take an actual MVP campaign from Jose Ramirez to push this team over the hump. Now, the pitching staff on this team is also questionable, especially, maybe if they still had Emmanuel Clase and he wasn't throwing games or gambling, maybe this team would actually still have a decent fighting chance of the division. And not saying they don't. I mean, the Cleveland can still win this division. It's not going to take much. Like I said, I think it's only going to take like 87, 88 wins. But on paper and based off everything I've seen from the acquisitions they've made, I think they're just about an average team heading into 2026. So I'm going to put them there. Chicago White Sox are the first team to fall in the terrible category. I might put them in a tier of their own. I don't think they're the worst team in Major League Baseball. They do have some exciting names like Colson Montgomery, Munetaka Murakami, one of their signings from Japan. I think he is also a very, very exciting name. They made some very interesting signings last year as well. They got Austin Hayes. They have Luis Angel Acuna, Sir Anthony Dominguez. I do like Shane Smith. They do have some fun names on this team, but I really just don't think this team is going to go anywhere. And at the below 500 category, I'm putting the Minnesota Twins. I think Twins, I don't know what happened since their 2019 Bomba Squad run, but the Twins are just not it. And I don't know what's happening in Minnesota and Target Field, but I think Minnesota needs to take a step back and look at what they have. Byron Buxton's not getting any older, or not any younger, excuse me. And he doesn't have many healthy seasons left in the tank because he hasn't really given you much any to begin with throughout his whole career. So I think the Twins fall at the below 500 category for the 2026 season. Rounding off the American League in the Western Division, we'll start with the Seattle Mariners. I think, once again, they are the last team in the American League that are World Series contenders. I think the Mariners only improved this year. They still have one of the most quality pitching rotations and bullpens in Major League Baseball. Andres Munoz is one hell of a closer. He's one of the best closers in the game, throws nasty stuff, 100+ miles an hour. He's fantastic. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu is actually going to be healthy entering the year. Bryce Miller, you'll get him back at some point, not to mention Luis Castillo as well. And then you have a lineup that's led by a guy who hit 60 home runs last year in Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, Randy Arozarena. You did lose Eugenio Suarez. He's now a Cincinnati Red. But you did get back Josh Naylor, and you acquired Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals. Brendan Donovan actually homered in his first at-bat as a Seattle Mariner. Love to see that as a Cardinals fan. Love seeing Brendan Donovan do good. Yeah, the Mariners are poised to repeat as AL West champs. I really don't think there's a team in the West that will be competing with them for the most part. I think the Mariners can easily get 90 wins again and win the West for the second straight year. Let's talk about the Houston Astros. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I'm going to put the Astros in average. I'm really just not high on the Houston Astros at all. I'm really not. The more I look at their roster, I don't like it. I really, really don't. You still have Jose Altuve, and you still have Cy Young candidate and Hunter Brown. Josh Hader starting the year hurt, and you still have Brian Abreu, who I love. You have Yordan Alvarez, which if he's healthy, he's easily one of the best hitters on the planet. But at the same time, I don't know if I can trust this roster. I just really don't. I think the Astros need to take a step back and go into rebuild mode. Their dynasty was a good one, and it was short-lived. I'm not going to say short-lived. It was a 7 or 8 year run. They did get 2 World Series championships out of it and multiple ALCS and World Series appearances. But I think it's now time to take a step back and look on into the future. I think the Astros are going to fall in the average tier. Same with the Texas Rangers. I'm going to put them ahead. I'm actually going to put them at the front of this list. I think they're kind of in between the sneaky good and average category. Now, the Texas Rangers is very complicated because it all comes down to Jacob deGrom and Nate Eovaldi. You have 2 guys at the front of your rotation who, if they are healthy and at their best, it's one of the best 1-2 punches in Major League Baseball, period. I mean, Jacob deGrom, he was fully healthy last year, and look at what he did. He was one of the best pitchers in the game. Nate Eovaldi wasn't fully healthy last year, but he was still, when healthy, one of the best pitchers in the game. Go figure. But this lineup lost a lot of pieces. You lost Marcus Semien. You lost Adolis Garcia. I don't think this lineup is as complete and as threatening as their 2023 World Series run. I still like a lot of the pieces. They did get Brandon Nimmo from the Mets in the Marcus Semien trade. Corey Seager, obviously, as their shortstop. Still love Corey Seager as one of the best players in all of baseball. I still love Josh Young and a bunch of the Wyatt Langford in the outfield. But I don't know. It all comes down to health and injuries with these guys, and there's not a lot that I can really bet on. A lot of the guys that you have to bet on don't have a great track record of staying healthy. So I think the Rangers could find themselves in the sneaky good category, contending for a playoff spot, but with all the good teams in the American League, I don't see it happening. Now, a team that can find itself in the sneaky good category, and this is going to shock a lot of you, I'm going to put the official Sacramento Athletics in the sneaky good category. This team is so much fun. It's so much fun to watch. When you have a core lineup of Mr. Nicholas Kurtz, Tyler Soderstrom, Jacob Wilson, Shea Langoliers, Lawrence Butler, that is a lineup that is feared by every team across the league. No one wants to face that lineup, especially if you're in this division. You don't want to face this lineup 3 or 4 times a year, actually like 16 times a year, how many times you play. I think the pitching can do well as well, led by Luis Severino. I think the A's are in a very good spot for where they want to be, especially because they plan on moving to Vegas, I believe not next year, but 2028 is when they plan on having their opening season in Las Vegas. And I think they're going to have a pretty decent product when they move to Las Vegas. I think this year is a very exciting year to come. You have the Rookie of the Year in Nicholas Kurtz. You have another Rookie of the Year finalist in Jacob Wilson, Shea Langoliers, like I said, Tyler Soderstrom, Lawrence Butler, all great, all fun players to watch. Watch out for the Sacramento A's this year. They can turn a lot of heads. And back in the terrible category is the LA Angels. I mean, other than Mike Trout, what really is there to watch and get excited for with this team? I really don't know. I mean, you're still paying Anthony Rendon somehow. I really don't know how that is possible, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of good parity in the American League, and I think that the Angels definitely find themselves at the bottom of the barrel. I don't know if they're as bad as the White Sox, but they're certainly in the conversation. Now on to the National League. We'll start in the National League East with the Miami Marlins, and I'm going to put the Miami Marlins in the average category. I think the Marlins are a solid ball club. I think they are. I think they got a lot of young, solid ball players on their team. It's going to be a year of questions and answers for the Miami Marlins to see what they have going forward. I love a lot of their young guys. Yuri Perez, love him as a starter. Absolutely love him. Kyle Stowers is an he was their lone all-star representative last year. He's an unbelievable power-hitting outfielder. Then you have Xavier Edwards and Otto Lopez. I think the Marlins have some good young talent around them. And last year, by the way, they only finished 2 games under 500. So I think last year they only finished, 2 or 3 games under 500. So I'm going to bet and say that the Marlins will probably stay around that tier next year and build on what they built in 2025. And I'm going to put the Marlins in average. It really pains me to do this because I love a lot of the players on their team, but I'm going to put the Atlanta Braves in the average tier. I don't see the Braves being good again. I don't. And it's not really because of their front office or because their front office has made a lot of very smart decisions over the years when it comes to getting contract extensions on guys like Ronald Acuna Jr. and Austin Riley, Spencer Strider. It's just been the injury bug. They've been one of the most unlucky teams in baseball when it comes to the injury bug. You just had Spencer Schwellenbach hit the 60-day IL, one of your premier starting pitchers, go on the injured list to start the season. Spencer Strider, you're going to have to rely on him to win a lot of games. Chris Sale, obviously, is still nasty, even with his old age, winning the Cy Young a couple years ago. But this is a team that, I mean, you're going to have to rely heavily on an MVP campaign from Ronald Acuna Jr., but you still have great pieces in your lineup, even with Jerks and Profar suspended for the full season without pay after he got caught again using performance-enhancing drugs for the second time. Ronald Acuna Jr., Austin Riley, Matt Olson, that core with Ozzy Albies as well. That core can win a lot of teams many games, but with the Brave situation right now, they're going to have to work on a lot of stuff, especially in the division they play. Who knows what's really going to happen? If there's any team in the NL East that's built for the playoffs and it's built for big moments, it's the Philadelphia Phillies. But I'm conflicted on to put them at World Series contender or playoff contenders. They're definitely playoff contenders, but do they have the talent to be a World Series contender? That's what I'm kind of questioning. Zach Wheeler, one of the best pitchers in baseball, is obviously hurt, and you're going to get him back at some point, probably in May or June. But Christopher Sanchez is one of his emerging quickly as possibly the best left-handed pitcher in the game, other than not named Tarek Skubal. Christopher Sanchez is so good. I mean, so good. It's not even funny. They do have to rely on a lot of question marks. They lost Ranger Suarez. You still have Jesus Luzardo in that rotation. You still have Aaron Nola. And you're now calling up your top-rated prospect in Andrew Painter, who looks to be a pretty good high-value piece for the Phils. And I think the Phillies know that their window for winning a World Series with this core is closing, and it's closing fast. While these guys are still all talented, Bryce Harper is not getting any younger. Same with Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and all those guys. Especially JT Realmuto, who's now turning 35 this offseason as a catcher. That's something you got to keep an eye on. I'm going to put the Phillies in playoff contenders for now. I think they certainly have the potential to be a World Series contender, but entering the year, I'm going to put them at playoff contenders for now. I think they certainly can and possibly will be a playoff team. Washington Nationals are probably going in the terrible category. I think they're only one of the few teams in the National League that can say that they're just not going to be that good this year. They're one of the few teams that can actually probably lose 100 games, even though they just beat up on the Cubs on opening day, winning 10-4, which as a Cardinals fan, you know, I love to see that. But the Nationals, outside of CJ Abrams and James Wood, don't really have a lot of very exciting names to talk about. I mean, I do love Cade Cavalli, and I do still believe in Dylan Cruz, but I mean, what else is there really to talk about this Nationals team? I think this team truly could lose 100 games. They're one of the worst teams in baseball on paper. Lastly, in the East, we have the New York Mets, and I'm going to put them in playoff contenders as well. The Mets fully redid basically their entire roster, letting players like Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil all walk, a lot of them fan favorites. But they re-signed a bunch of players. They signed Bo Bichette to a massive 3-year, $120 million contract. They traded for Freddie Peralta for the Brewers to be the official ace of this rotation, and the Mets are going for a 6-man rotation with Freddie Peralta, Nolan McLean, Clay Holmes at the helm as well, and then you can throw guys like Kodai Senga in there. Not to mention you still have, I mean, the front four that I saw the Mets put out against Paul Skeens was an unbelievable front four. You had Francisco Lindor leading off, unbelievable. Juan Soto in the 2-hole, one of the best hitters in baseball. Then you followed up with Bo Bichette, and then Jorge Polanco at cleanup. I mean, like, that's a dirty 1-4. And I think the Mets can easily do some damage. They're easily a contender to knock the Phillies off their throne as champions in the NL East. But I don't know if they're going to be World Series contenders. They are definitely playoff contenders, so heading in this year for sure. Now we get to the NL Central, and we start with my St. Louis Cardinals. While I definitely do not believe the Cardinals are going to be terrible, as in losing 100 games, I definitely think they're going to start this year below 500, even though they are currently 1-0 as the time I'm recording this. I just don't think the expectations for the Cardinals are too terribly high. I don't think from anybody. A lot of people are saying this team could lose 100 games. After what I saw on opening day, even before that, I still didn't think that this team was going to lose 100 games. 90, that's a little more reasonable. I think this team can win 70 games. If everything goes right, they're probably going to be a 500 team. But this team is definitely not at any point this year probably going to contend for a division title, let alone a playoff spot. Next, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't believe the Pirates are terrible. I think the Pirates are going to still fall in the below 500 category. The Pirates have had a lot of problems, and mainly that they have a lot of good pitching. They have a lot of young, good pitching. Obviously, they have the NL Cy Young Award winner in Paul Skeens, even though he got rattled against the Mets, didn't even complete through the first inning. They still have guys like Jared Jones, who's going to come back at some point this year. Bubba Chandler looks great. They still have the MLB #1 prospect in Connor Griffin, who is going to come up at some point. I would be shocked if he's not in the majors by June, because he's that good. I think the Pirates have a decent enough lineup to win them a lot of games. It's all going to come down to their pitching, and their problem over the last few years has just been the pitching has just not gotten a lot of offensive support, which is another reason why pitching wins don't matter, but that's a story for another day. Next, we have the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers, I hate the Milwaukee Brewers. On paper, this team just should not be good. It just should not be good. They have a team, I'm not going to lie, they do have a team hitting-wise that's just full of ball players. They're full of ball players. They have Sal Frelick is a ball player. William Contreras is a ball player. Bryce Terang, is a damn good ball player. Jacob Mizorowski is a good pitcher. Brandon Woodruff as well is a great pitcher. But this team just somehow manages to find a way to put together a mediocre roster and win 90-plus games. I think they can still contend for the playoffs, but based off of how their roster looks, I'm only putting them in sneaky good. You can flame me all you want when they end up winning like 95 games and making the playoffs somehow, but I think they are sneaky good this year. I think that's it. Next, you have the toe of Satan, the Chicago Cubs. And unfortunately for me, I think they are a World Series contender. I think the Cubs easily are the best team in the NL Central. They are stacked from top to bottom. When you have a rotation with Matthew Boyd, you get Edward Cabrera, you get Shota Imanaga, Cade Horton looks amazing. And at some point in the year, you're going to get back your ace, fresh removed from Tommy John and Justin Steele. And you have a lineup that includes players like Ian Happ, who's just good with both the glove and the bat. Nico Horner, who just got extended. PCA, who just got extended on a bargain of a contract. They added Alex Bregman to fill in their much-needed hole at third base. This team is, I think it's built to win the division. I think the Cubs are the biggest threat to the Brewers right now. They're one of the biggest threats to the Dodgers, I would say, in the West. I think this Cubs team easily can be a World Series contender. Finishing off the Central, we have the Cincinnati Reds. I'm going to throw them at just around average. The Reds snuck into the playoffs last year under first-year manager Terry Francona. Terry Francona, obviously, Hall of Fame manager. I think this team is just about average, though. I think the lineup, the pitching will carry this team a lot with guys like Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, and Chase Burns. But I think, and Nick Lodolo, obviously, as well, whenever he gets healthy. I just think this lineup, outside of Elly De La Cruz and Eugenio Suarez, is not good. I don't like the lineup a lot. I think you're going to be relying on a 40 to 50 homer season from Eugenio Suarez and an MVP-like season from Elly De La Cruz if he won't strike out 200 plus times. But I think that's what you're going to have to get if you want the Reds to make the playoffs again, if you're a Cincinnati Reds fan. Lastly, we have the National League West. And starting off, we have the worst team in Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies, who round off the terrible tier. The Rockies last year not just were one of the worst teams in baseball, they were one of the worst teams of all time last year. They lost 119 games. You can't get much worse than that. They do have some bright spots. I mean, you have Hunter Goodman. I do like Brenton Doyle. Brenton Doyle's a solid ball player. Hunter Goodman was one of the best players in all of baseball last year. He came up as one of the worst catchers in the game, and he, in just 1 year, had a massive improvement, was a 4-win player, one of the most productive catchers in the majors. But other than that, the Rockies don't really have much to be excited for, especially if you're a Rockies fan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're a Rockies fan. The Rockies are horrible. They stink. The San Diego Padres are always a tough team to rank, mainly because they've always been the Dodgers' little brother. You know, they've always been living in the Dodgers' shadow, but I'm still going to put them in the sneaky good / playoff contender category. I'm going to put them in the sneaky good tier for now, mainly because I think their pitching is leaving a lot to be desired. Yu Darvish is still hurt. You don't know how he's going to come back. Joe Musgrove is hurt. You still don't know how he's going to come back. And you're relying on Nick Pivetta as to be the number one in your rotation. I personally do not like that. I'm just going to be honest. So I think the Padres, at their best, can make the playoffs. Obviously, when you have guys like Fernando Tatis Jr., when you have guys like Manny Machado, when you have guys like Jackson Merrill, you're going to have enough offensive firepower to make the playoffs. It's going to all come down to their pitching. And in the division they play in with teams like the Dodgers, who won back-to-back World Series, the Diamondbacks, Giants, even some of the people they face on their schedule in the National League, the Padres are a questionable team to rank. I think rounding out the average tier for me, I'm going to put the San Francisco Giants. I don't know much about how the Giants are going to do this year. I mean, I did watch them get beat down 7-0 on opening day against the Yankees. Granted, they were playing one of the best pitchers in the game in Max Fried. But this Giants lineup outside of Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, and Rafael Devers, not great. Not a great back half of the lineup. And their pitching outside of Logan Webb and Robbie Ray leaves a lot to be desired. And I think their bullpen is still very questionable. I think the Giants are still going to fall themselves in the average tier once again. Now we have the devil and the villain of Major League Baseball, the LA Dodgers, who are easily, yes, a World Series contender. There's not much I really need to say about the Dodgers. They stole Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz from everybody. They stole Kyle Tucker from the Mets and guaranteed that he'd be on the Dodgers at least through the lockout. That is pretty much imminent, especially the Dodgers go into a three-peat. The Dodgers are easily the best team in baseball on paper. Yeah, there's not really much else I need to say about the Dodgers when you have Shohei Ohtani pitching now for a full season for the first time as a Dodger. And lastly, I have the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I'm actually going to throw in the average category again. I really just think they're an average team. And if you want to flame me for that, you can flame me for that. But I think they're an average team. I think they have the chance to be sneaky good. I do like them. I'm actually going to put them ahead of the Giants. I like them better than the Giants. I do like them better than the Giants. I like their lineup better. I like their pitching a little bit better. Their bullpen is a little questionable, having to rely on Paul Sewald, who hasn't been good in a few years, as your closer. I don't know if I like that. I really don't know if I like that enough. I do like the veteran moves they made, like acquiring Nolan Arenado. I think he's a good veteran presence in that clubhouse. But I think the Diamondbacks are in a tough position given the division they play in and just everything in general. There is the tier list. I'm now going to go through who I think is going to win each division, who's going to be the wild card, and go through the playoff matchups, give you my World Series predictions for 2026. Those are my tier lists for the 2026 season. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next video when I'm recapping the next Cardinals game on Monday. See you later.